Good morning, everyone, from Kingman, Arizona. It's the Sometimes vlog, yeah. It's a vlog that happens sometimes. Oh, those sweet, sweet Arizona Route 66 mornings. Look at this, everybody. This is the entrance to the Hilltop Motel. Best view in Kingman. Man, I gotta admit, it is a pretty nice view out there. You got those mountains and that mesa over there and a lovely view of all this crazy cactus, including this crazy cactus down here, which I just poked my leg into. What a fun one. But maybe the sweetest view of all is the view of that old school mid-century Route 66 neon sign. That is a thing of beauty. Some of the motels in Kingman look pretty freaking awesome. My trip was super last minute, so I didn't get to book a room in any of the cool themed old school Route 66 motels, which is too bad because I really would have enjoyed some Zenith chroma color TV. Yesterday I was out in the desert looking at ghost towns inhabited by wild donkeys and looking at things that inspired the Cars movie and Cars Land, a Disney California adventure. I only really left the house for a day or two this time, and I'm kind of glad because there's been an excessive heat warning, and yesterday it was 110 the entire day, and I may or may not have a touch of heat exhaustion, which is why for once I'm kind of glad that it's a short trip because I'm really looking forward to being back in some air conditioning and cooler temperatures. Dang, look at these awesome freaking cars. Look at this thing right here. That looks pretty sweet. Although, I'm really glad, because this is what I was talking about the other day. I'm really glad I didn't have to do all those crazy switchbacks and go up all those mountains and these old school gas guzzlers, because it would have been quite a chore, quite an achievement really too, to do Route 66 in one of these bad boys. Even though it has over 100,000 miles on it, kind of grateful that I'm driving my more modern Mustang, although I think I would look pretty sweet in one of these bad boys, huh? What do you think? Oh yeah. See, I love this about northern Arizona. Around every corner in every Route 66 town, it's something sweet to look at. Like these old cars here, for example. Actually, Kingman seems to be the king, no pun intended, of old school cars for sale, because I see these things everywhere and they all say they run. I don't know. Historic Route 66 cuts right through the heart of old downtown Kingman, which is part of what made the old highways so much different than the modern interstate, is that they went right into and sometimes right down the very main street of the towns. Kingman's actually a lot older than some of the Route 66 towns because it can trace its roots way back to the 1850s when the US government hired Lieutenant Eddie Beale to cross the desert and build a wagon road. The town really didn't get its start until Kingman became a simple stop along the railroad, but it's been growing ever since. They didn't forget about old Eddie Beale though. Oh no. Kingman has its own Beale Street, and just off Route 66, the old Hotel Beale over there. Ooh, air cooled. Later on, of course, out here anyways, through Arizona, Route 66 followed the path of the old Beale wagon trail, and this is Route 66 right here. And as you can see, it cuts right through town, right in front of this old H. Lovin building, 1906, and the Hotel Brunswick, built in 1909. Dang. According to the internet, which should know because it was around at the time, Clark Gable stayed in this hotel, and Barry Goldwater. You all remember him. Ooh, according to this, it had 50 cowboy rooms with shared bath facilities. Wow. It's just a little bit closed at the moment, but from what I understand, it should be undergoing some renovation pretty soon. Also, supposedly Kingman's own Andy Devine spent a lot of time in and around the Hotel Brunswick. We'll get to Andy Devine in a second. Oh yeah, and this hotel is supposedly haunted, but all I can think now is, what if it's haunted by H. Lovin, who built the building next door? Seriously, right up there, it says H. Lovin Building, 1906. That's pretty cool. I can think of so many jokes, none of which are appropriate, but anyway. anyway, the point is, look at how Route 66 came right through the old historic part of town. That really made Route 66 a part of the community in the towns that it passed through. I don't ever remember anyone saying, hey, I-5 in Orange County, that's a real big part of our community identity. You can see it really means a lot to the people of Kingman that Route 66 passes right through their town. Look at this art here. I think that might even be Andy Devine, but I'm actually not really that concerned about Andy Devine at the moment. What I am concerned about is this family here being watched by Michael Myers in the bushes. Run for your lives!
Oh, the fam.
Yes, Kingman is pretty awesome, all right. There's so many outdoor murals, and there's so much stuff to see outdoors here. I mean, after all, it is the heart of historic Route 66. It even has its own Route 66 website. Wowee! But since I spent the better part of last night trying so hard not to vomit from a mild but still really kind of not fun case of heat exhaustion, I think it would be unwise for me to spend too much time exploring the outdoor areas of Kingman today. But luckily, that doesn't mean that we can't explore historic Route 66 in Kingman, because they've got us covered with a very indoors and very air-conditioned Route 66 museum, which means we can see some Route 66 history without this Route 66 heat wave. But before we go in there, I just have to point out, what? Look at this. What the heck is this? It looks like a Johnny Cab from Total Recall, or I don't even know it, like a little Urkel car from the future. I have no idea when this little triangular electric car was built, but this looks so 70s, or maybe so 80s. It looks like something out of Star Wars, doesn't it? I want this. I want to freaking ride around town in this thing. That's amazing. Okay, time to go into the museum. Now, this place is called the Powerhouse because it used to provide hydroelectric power for Kingman. Hydroelectric means they used to use water to turn turbines and generate electricity. Although where in the world they got the water from, I have no idea. They started construction on this building in 1907, and it was the first steel reinforced concrete industrial building in Arizona, which is a weirdly specific fact I happen to know. And that's because I actually popped in here on my last Route 66 road trip, but just for a few minutes because I was on my way home. You gotta look for these signs all dotted along Arizona's Route 66. These things are like gold. 90 years after construction first began on the Powerhouse, and after it had lost its power and become abandoned, it was rescued and turned into the Kingman Visitor Center, which includes a Route 66 museum. But before we look inside, look at this. That little divot right there is 3,333.33 feet above sea level. Which means if I jump really high, my head will be exactly 1/3 of the way to 10,000 feet up. Man, and if you think that's weird, look over here at the size of that bug. Dude, I swear that bug is like a good chunk of the size of my hand. It's at least as long as my middle finger, which is kind of when I want to point at it. What the heck is that? That thing is super scary. Ugh. That thing's gonna take a big can of Raid. Okay, that bugs me too much. Let's go inside. Wow, look at this visitor center. There's so much information here. Look at all the pamphlets. I love these things. Somewhere I have a suitcase that's literally full of these pamphlets. Oh, this looks like a nice place. We should go there sometime. There's so much knowledge here and nifty souvenirs. There's even information about those notorious tortoise gangs out there. Watch out for those guys. I don't trust you, dinosaur of the desert. Man, look at all of this hot sauce and barbecue sauce and more hot sauce. This would be a lot more appealing if there wasn't already some extreme heat outside. Look at that map of Route 66. That's cool. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling the power of this Powerhouse. Maybe it's just this sign up here, but I'm feeling so welcome. Although the air conditioning probably has a lot to do with that. All right, the Route 66 Museum is upstairs. Dang it, this place is awesome, and a tribute to what a group can do to save history and make it interesting for a whole new generation. Dude, look at that's so cool. That train right there runs through the entrance, around the building. I don't know if you can see up there on this track, over there and back. That is awesome. I wish it was running. The museum is back there, but the displays actually start out here. Look at this. Here's a nice quote from Jack Kerouac, "On the road." I'm gonna be completely honest with you, and this is kind of embarrassing. I've never actually read all the way through on the road. And my best friend Al from Kansas like loves that book, so he's always like, "You read it yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." Ooh. Gotta start your visit with this crazy movie here, The 66 Kid. This dude grew up on the Mother Road. Talks about all those memories. Most of the time I'm too busy to stop and actually watch the movies in museums. Do you ever stop and watch the films in museums? I usually just keep going through all fast, but this time I'm just enjoying not being in the sun, so I'm gonna sit. Good times. Good times. Okay, time for the museum. Ooh. Look at this. Man, I say that a lot, don't I? Look at this. But it's because I want you to look at this. Kingman's Route 66 Museum. Ooh, here's a display about old Eddie Beale's wagon road. Look at that. Pretty much desert all the way from New Mexico all the way to California. Can you imagine crossing all that desert with nothing but dogs and horses and mules? Well, neither could they. That's why they brought along some camels. 25 of them. Fresh from Egypt. I never knew that part of Route 66 was basically founded by camels. I didn't even notice the camels in that painting at first. That's why you stop and read the signs, kids. Wow, look at this right here. Do you know what that is?
It's a covered wagon, or as we called it back in the day, a prairie schooner.
A schooner is a type of boat, and apparently people thought that these things crossing the old prairies in the desert looked sort of like ships in the ocean. I guess they didn't have that much experience with boats, because that doesn't look like a boat to me. Can you imagine crossing the desert in this thing? It'd be hard enough where it's flat. Not to mention all those crazy mountains and the rocks and stuff you'd have to get these wheels over. And it occurs to me that it was just as hot back then as it is now. See, the wagons were full of people's stuff, like their iPads and laptops and whatnot, which meant there was no room for passengers. These people had to walk alongside these wagons. Dude, in Oatman yesterday, I could barely walk like 5 minutes down the street without feeling like I was gonna die, which means that this guy here is a total jerk. He's making his pregnant wife walk all the way to California. Rude.
Getting awful tired of your mouth.
I don't like this guy. Watch out, lady. You almost stepped on a rattlesnake. Oh my gosh, that was close.
Oh, geez, thank you, mister. I thought that was my pet snake, Reggie.
That was your job. It is really, really eerily quiet in this place and very hot. The air conditioning doesn't extend to in here. And even though there's other people in here, I'm starting to get kind of weirded out. Especially because every time I turn around, this guy's just standing here. He's got that weird look on his face. Some sort of old-timey Amtrak conductor. Man, people really were shorter back in the day. You ever notice that old museums always have display cases full of glass stuff? Like, are the youth of today really interested in old purple glass? I mean, I can actually picture my great-grandma being super into this stuff, but I don't know. The appeal is lost on my generation, I guess. Except for this. Look at this glass. This stuff is hilarious. You want to know why? Look close, look close. Because this stuff is called goofus glass. Oh man, this stuff used to be popular. What a bunch of goofuses for buying that. You wouldn't see people buying that glass anymore. The only goofus around town now is me. Anyway, I guess all the pregnant ladies got tired of walking through the desert, so they started campaigns like, "We need good roads." So things like the Good Roads Association got together and started demanding national highways, especially once the automobile came along. Oh, weird. Look at this. Look at this. I know the Nazis built the Autobahn. I didn't know they built Route 66. Oh my goodness. Oh, wait. Turns out that was just a good luck charm back in the day. Close one, but I got my eye on you guys. That old Beale wagon road turned into part of the National Old Trails Highway, where they turned the old trails into stretches of beautiful, beautiful road for automobiles, and then later it was absorbed into Route 66. You know, when you're driving around at McDonald's or whatever, you never really think about how much history there is behind roads. Ooh, look at this, I like this picture. Goodyear Advertising, 1928 style. Caption win. Of course, famously, the next part of the Route 66 story is during the Dust Bowl. Looks like the nothing from the never-ending story. Bad farming techniques led to these huge windstorms that would blow all the topsoil away from people's farms in the 1930s all throughout the plains, you know, Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma. And once your farm literally blows away in the wind, what do? You pack your family up and you head to California. That way, with looks like these, you could become a movie star.
Stick with me, kid. With looks like that, you'll be a star in no time.
John Steinbeck famously wrote The Grapes of Wrath, which included a lot of passages about travel on Route 66 as all those Okies headed out to California. And because of the popularity of the book, and then the movie version, every Route 66 museum I have ever been in has a Grapes of Wrath display. I've actually been in quite a few Route 66 museums, and if you go back on this channel, you can see some more videos of them and compare them to each other. But I think this is my favorite Grapes of Wrath display just because of how funky the characters look. Aw, like look at little Dirty Debbie down there with Julio. And my favorite character of all, Grandma. Everybody in this display looks so hungry, but Weird Neck Grandma over here has a lot of food. She's hoarding all the food. What about the children, Grandma? What about the children? Sheesh. And who left the baby down here sleeping underneath the truck? Could have at least put her in the playpen, you know?
But at least they didn't leave her locked in the hot car. Oh no, that would be bad.
You know, everybody thinks that California was populated by the Okies from the Dust Bowl. But what a lot of people don't realize is that once these people got to California, we had a big old sign right at the state line that said, "Go away, not welcome." Look at there's the fuzz right there, making everybody go home. According to the museum, only 8% stayed out in California or anywhere out here. All the rest went back home. Funny that California's immigration problem used to be about stopping people from Oklahoma. Come on. They just wanted to see the beach. Well, better days were ahead. After World War II, the United States hit a new era of prosperity. And that is when the heyday of Route 66 really began. By the way, look at this freaking Studebaker right here. That thing is righteous. Look at that. Princess Diana back there looks a lot happier than Grandma did. She's really stoked that her Asian stepdad is taking her out to California. Dang it, I really want this car. Look at this one even had air conditioning. Sorta. That is funky. At first I thought it was supposed to be an old drive-in speaker, but no. That's a car cooler. Dang it would be super fun to take a road trip in a car that's that good looking. A bear in his natural habitat. A Studebaker. Oh, look at this. It's a display about those old Burma shave signs. Probably the most famous form of old Route 66 highway advertising.
Slow down, Pa. Sakes alive.
Ma has missed signs 4 and 5. Burma shave. They would spread out their slogans all down the highway, so the whole family would be like, what's it say next? What's it say next? Let's make Hitler and Hirohito look as sick as old Benito. Buy defense bonds. Burma shave. Do they want us to buy defense bonds or do they want us to buy Burma shave? That one's confusing. Oof, the bearded devil is forced to dwell in the only place where they don't sell Burma shave. That's a hell joke and a warning to hipsters. Check out all the cool old signs. No Route 66 museum would be complete without these rusty gems. I like this here. They have a whole display of old Main Street America during the Route 66 era. Look at that garage right there. Ooh, the Chat and Chew. Biscuits and gravy, chicken fried steak, homemade pie. All things that I can't eat because I have to be gluten-free. Hey, Bob, you don't have an allergy menu? No? I'm sad and hungry. Look at that. Looks a lot like Hill Valley, doesn't it? And look over here at this mural, talking about the good times. Hey, I've been there. And I've been there. Look at that. Nobody was unhappy in the 1950s. Absolutely nobody. Well, okay, that's not true at all. But still, it's fun to believe in that American myth of the golden age, isn't it? After my last trip, my grandma was telling me stories about coming down Route 66 in 1955, back in this era where people used to chase armadillos with those cleavers. I hadn't even realized she had traveled Route 66. And then she's like, yeah, I saw all those places that you showed in your videos, but I saw them back when they were open and they look nice, you know? Gosh, I love a good mural. Especially ones that show stuff that I've seen. Like, you guys remember this from my last video on Route 66 last time? Or how about this? We all remember seeing that. Or do we? That reminds me, actually, I saw a UFO for the first time ever. I saw a UFO on my way out here. I was just outside of Kingman and I was watching meteors come down from the sky like every once in a while. And then one came, got really bright on the horizon and then went psh. Like, I know meteors can explode, so maybe it exploded and went off in a different direction, but it really seemed like it came down and paused for a split second and then exploded. I'm not saying it was a flying saucer, you know. Could have just been a meteor, it could have been anything, really. But it was totally a flying saucer. Probably. Wink. Dang, I could use a haircut. Too bad young Luke Skywalker's in the chair already. And look at this. I didn't know Disney Imagineer Tony Baxter started a general store. Wow. That guy is so talented. All right. time to head downstairs now. Ooh, into the creepy part of the old Powerhouse. The part where there's, probably no ghosts, right?
Oof, we're not allowed down there. Darn, I really wanted to go there.
Now down here in this hallway, there's a whole bunch of displays and a video about a bunch of the stuff that's disappeared now from Route 66. And then something that makes perfect sense, kinda. Combine Route 66 with being in an old electricity generating powerhouse, and you have the perfect place for an electric vehicle museum. Wow, look at this thing. Look at this guy. It's Waylon Jennings' Mercedes golf cart. And apparently his neighbor belonged to Willie Nelson at one point. Hashtag things I did not expect to see today. Or ever.
Good old Waylon and Willie, still rocking.
With electric vehicles.
The old Henny Kilowatt, of course.
I remember when these were all over the highway. I don't remember that. It's weird to think about electric vehicles existing in 1959, but it's even weirder to think about them existing in 1911. Look at that. Even Henry Ford owned one of these, apparently. The sign says that the World Wars stopped them from making more electric cars. But I say it was a conspiracy by the oil industry, yeah! Oh, look at this. There's an even older one over here. Look at this little guy here. Built in 1909. This is just a little tug for hauling railroad baggage here. But I find it a little weird to see an electric vehicle that was running around at the time Mark Twain was still alive. It's hard to picture Sam Clemens riding on this thing. Mostly because what would he be doing tugging around people's luggage? Dang, and check out these old tires. Solid rubber. That's before inner tubes. Crazy. True, they didn't have to keep them inflated, but it was a lot bumpier of a ride back then. So weird. This is one of the weirdest, most bizarre things you'd expect to find in a Route 66 museum. Look at this old golf cart right here. Actually, it says it's a neighborhood cart here from 1959. That thing right there has some serious style, and that alone makes it pretty interesting to me. But what makes it way more interesting to me is that apparently this car was built in Anaheim, California. That is weird. I never knew there was an electric automotive company in Anaheim in the 50s. More research is required. Seems like electric vehicles were mostly golf carts back in the day. But look at this little monkey right here. That's funny. There's no sign in front of it, so I have no idea what it is. But I'm assuming, just based on the shape, that this was built in the Soviet Union. Okay, probably not. But check out this little doohickey. The chair car. The chair car. Genius. Who doesn't want one of these? Look at even young Eleanor Roosevelt had one. Bro. Chair cars are totally dope. Well, that was an unexpected pleasure. What a treat. I guess that's it. That's all for the Kingman Route 66 Museum. Oh, here's one more piece of Kingman history right here. Turns out Pamela Anderson was here once, shooting a magazine spread, and traumatized some local children by removing her shirt for the photo shoot. Hashtag history. Well, I guess that's it. No more museum left to see. No more history left to see in Kingman. Ah, but wait, there totally is, because not only can you learn about Route 66 in Kingman, we can also learn about this wonderful climate, because a ticket to the Route 66 Museum also includes access to another super cool place, which we'll get to in a minute, because I gotta get some gas. I love Route 66 because it's so quintessentially American, which is why I love old gas stations like this. I mean, if you can keep an American institution like this in business for this long, then you really deserve my money. Oh, awesome, there's a gift shop and Indian jewelry. Souvenirs are probably galore here. Oh, and there's tons of wildlife hiding in the shade under this truck. Look at that giant spray-painted golden nugget there. Look at this cool mural of this Indian guy making jewelry. Oh, the glorious bald eagle and the old Route 66 diner mural. This place is as American as apple pie. I wonder what this place is called. Oh, welcome to Canada Mart. Canada Mart? I'm confused, but I'm also thirsty, so Canada Mart it is.
There you go, man.
Hello. Oh, yes. The nectar of the gods. Yes. Wow. That was a lucky find. All right, now that Canada Mart is out of the way, we'll head on over to its next door neighbor. You guys might actually remember this spot if you were following my last Route 66 trip. It's the Mojave Museum of History and Arts. Last time I breezed through, I think I was literally here for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I only have 2 hours left till the museum closed today, but that's still enough time to pop on in here and learn about the Volcanic Bomb. It's actually right in there. I can see it through the window. I'm excited. I loved this museum the last time I was here, and I would probably love this building anyways, even if it were a gluten factory, because look at the way it looks. I love those beams. Actually, does anybody know what this museum used to be before it was the Mojave Museum? It's almost like old school 1950s bowling alley architecture. I'm not even gonna Google it. I'm just gonna leave that there as my guess. Old bowling alley. I don't know though. If anybody actually knows for certain, let me know. It is 110 degrees out here, so it's a little nicer than yesterday when it was 117 during some parts, but it's a little warm, so I'm glad to go back inside and learn more about history. Also, what's weird is I was here before. Never noticed the camels last time either. Oh, and remember how I was talking about Andy Devine? By the way, Route 66 is actually named after Andy Devine here, Andy Devine Avenue. And I think we might actually get to finally talk about him in here. Just make sure you don't kick your skateboard at anybody. They don't like that around these parts. Oh Lord, it's a little warm out here. Excited to be back inside. Beautiful. Wonderful air conditioning. It's as American as apple pie. Even more American than all these pictures of the presidents. One guy painted all of these. The presidents and the first ladies. Okay, here we go. Into the Mojave Museum proper. And of course, they have a little Route 66 display. You know what's weird is all over Route 66 last time, I saw all kinds of pictures of James Dean and Marilyn Monroe. And for some reason I didn't see those guys this time. But I can tell James Dean is stoked to see me. He's like, hey, this guy. I always think that foreign tourists down Route 66 are gonna get the impression that James Dean and this lady were married. Oh, and let's not forget that other souvenir shop staple, Elvis Aaron Presley. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Last time I went all the way up to here on Route 66. Didn't quite complete this section. This time we're just messing around on this little crack here, but soon, hopefully, I will return to complete the whole circuit. Anyway, we talked enough about Route 66. Time for some Mojave stuff. Oh, look at this. A half-scale covered wagon, or as I will now call it, a prairie schooner. See, I'm learning. Check this out. This whole room is dedicated to the Mojave Epic, and it's got this epic mural above around the entire room showing the history of the Mojave Desert. And underneath it are all these display cases with artifacts and other stuff showcasing the same thing. So you go from fire and the geologic times and the dawn of man there, and you work your way over to the Native Americans, which I don't know if these are supposed to be cavemen or something, but they're portraying them very, very nude, which is a little bit weird because I didn't think that Native Americans came over early enough to be walking around nude. I always thought they would have had clothing by the time they migrated over the land bridge, whatever. Still pretty cool, showing primitive stone tools. And he took stones and therefore made the thing. And then we got the Spanish explorers, conquistadors, and the missionaries here. Then there's some more nude people and then some early explorers. Then we got the Americans coming by steamboats and of course by camel. And we got settlers coming out with their prairie schooners. And the natives are looking on going, well, there goes the neighborhood. And then we got the railroads and early mining and exploration going on. Pretty cool stuff. Ooh, you follow the little footprints through history. Last time I really didn't notice how the display cases and the mural were themed together like this. This is actually pretty impressive. More mining and electricity and the Hoover Dam there. And then of course, here comes Route 66. The sign there says, our frontiers conquered, and then we gotta look forward to the future, where apparently everything's gone horribly wrong. This little leather thing here says, the earth groaneth under the inhabitants thereof, and die, consumed by the works of our hands, as a new cycle arises from the union of a golden sun. And that's when the apes arrived and took over everything. Run, Charlton Heston, run! Oh, cool, look at this. There's a children's playroom. Ooh, but it's locked. No playing around in the museum. This is serious. Okay, this is what I came to see right here. Look at this, the volcanic bomb. If lava is thrown out by an explosive eruption, the lava may be whirled into lemon-shaped masses called volcanic bombs. This is some highly explosive information. This is a really hot ticket item at the museum. I'm erupting with glee at seeing this. Oh, nope, I'm out of volcano puns. Ah, yes, I had forgotten that recreation of the pilgrims coming over to America on their steamboat. Listen, 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 listen. You hear that? Nothing. It's super quiet in here. Super quiet. This is a really cool room because it talks about some of the Native American artifacts and some of their beliefs and their way of life. Showcases some of their like sort of petroglyph art and what it meant. A lot of interesting artifacts in here. Like that's pretty cool. The Wallapai basket. Talks about some of their spiritual beliefs too, which is cool. We don't think of Native Americans living in this area, or at least I don't always think about them living in the Mojave Desert. All the old Western stories just talked about Indian massacres and stuff, but a lot of people don't realize that those massacres often happened because the people traveling through this area were not exactly friendly to the natives. Usually when they were friendly, there was just as much interaction in a positive way as there was in a negative way. It was nice to see some of this stuff about the original inhabitants and their descendants. I think we have a tendency way too often to remember the cowboy and Indian days or something and forget that those people are still here, whether they're still here like living on a reservation or still here in the sense that they actually joined our society and became us. I just really like to learn about that stuff now. And I like to come to a room like this that shows so much reverence and so much respect for the indigenous inhabitants of the area. All of this is great, showing traditional dwellings and whatnot. But then there's this. I always thought it was fascinating the way people survived out here in the desert with very, very little shade, very, very little means of producing food. But what I didn't know was that their survival techniques included being made out of stone. Weird. I saw those guys last time, and they still haunt my nightmares. See, look, there's a traditional dwelling right there, but this lady's not nude or made of stone. Somebody's lying, and when I figure out who, one of you's in big trouble. All right, moving on. The Kachina dolls. Some of these guys are terrifying. I mean, really bizarre and scary looking, at least to my Anglo-Southern California mind. Very, very interesting. These are spiritual beings for them that are sort of a cross between superhero and fable and deity. I don't really completely understand them, but I've been learning a lot more about them lately. I've seen a lot of these things throughout the Southwest, a lot of paintings of them, a lot of Kachina dolls like this. But this museum is the only place I've ever seen the squash Kachina. It says, a chief Kachina for the Pumpkin Clan. I do not know what a Pumpkin Clan is, but I kind of want to find out now. Here's an interesting thing. Remember how we were talking about Olive Oatman and she got those sweet chin tattoos from the Mojaves? Well, this actually explains the chin tattoo. Look right down here. It says most Mojaves had tattoos because a person without marks on the face would be refused entrance to the land of the dead and had to go down a rat hole instead. A few independent Mojave refused tattooing, preferring the rat hole to the severe pain of tattooing. I guess Olive Oatman didn't want to go down the rat hole, huh? Eee. Also some Navajo rugs on the wall here. I never really thought that much about Native American patterns before, but then on my last trip when I went to Acoma and I went to Sky City, it's like an old Indian pueblo that's been there for 1,000 years. I was listening to some of the artists talk about all those geometric designs and how they all actually stand for stuff. So there are people out there who can kind of read blankets like that or pottery or whatever and see a whole different story that I'm not seeing. Stuff like that is fascinating to me. Ooh, all right, here we go. It's the rancher section. Oh, there's the devil's rope, barbed wire. This is the stuff that tamed the West, and for better or for worse, created modern America. You couldn't have had settlements and farms and ranches without barbed wire. Dang, look at all those ranches out there in the desert. Look at all these ranchers and cowboys doing their thing. Whoa! Check out, you got all these different cattle brands here. You got WF for Grounds, and then you got EC for Stevens. Look at this one for Neil. You got this one for Caro, and this one for Miller, G, and this one for, oh, and you got this one. Yep, a lot of unusual names up there, all right. Well, you got a whole display here talking about water. You know, you always see pictures of these on old farms, like in old paintings and stuff, or things about the Dust Bowl. But I never really thought about what they were actually for. Maybe I just assumed that it was so they could go outside and be like, oh, yep, it's windy, things turning. It turns out that the windmills would turn and pump up water from down in the ground. That makes a lot more sense. I mean, if you're a cowboy, you definitely need water. You gotta wash the smell of cow off you somehow. Man, speaking of the devil's rope, look how many different types of barbed wire there are right here. There are actually quite a few people who collect different types of barbed wire. And let's hope that they all have their tetanus shots. Yep, barbed wire is very popular. People come from all over the world to see American barbed wire. All right, we got a little more museum to go. There are a couple of outdoor exhibits here, but it's 110 degrees outside, and I filmed them last time I was here, so go back and you'll see them. You'll see them. Now, just like the purple glass in the last museum, there's a lot of displays about things that I don't think most people really care about. You know, things like the glove chair. Maybe if I touch it, I'll understand. Oh, that was close. I mean, some of this stuff is interesting, especially if you take the time to really look at it or Google it or research the people who donated it. But let's be honest, most people are a lot more interested in the attention-grabbing mines and ghost towns section. When you drive through this area on the interstate, you're probably thinking, why in the world would anyone have come out here? Why in the world is there so much crap out in the desert? It's because there was a lot of mining out here in the Old West. Now, we always think about gold and silver mines, but there was also copper, lead, zinc, all kinds of other metals that I can't pronounce. Even stuff like borax, which is a chemical they use to make soap out of, and I think bug-killing stuff. I've learned about borax so many times, I can never remember what it's used for, other than soap. This guy would probably remember. Too bad he's not here to tell us, huh? Oh, here's a section about Oatman. Sweet. Oh, there's Olive Oatman right there. Look at her. Dang, she was a looker. You know, I'm not really a huge fan of face tattoos, but for some reason on her, it looks good. That's the bay right there. It's crazy that they just found gold in the ground there. Man, I wish I could pick up some gold from the ground. The only gold I've got are my jokes. Right? Look at all these displays about old mining towns. Hackberry, White Hills, Signal, McCracken, Boreana. That doesn't sound very exciting. Boreana is a place where they mined for tungsten. Filament of light bulb is made from tungsten. Well, that's exciting. Still not exciting enough to change the name from Boreana to Exciting-iana, but still, it's a little exciting. See what I tell you about those jokes, huh? They're electric. Check this out. Fulgurite. Natural hollow glass tubes formed in sand, silica, or dirt by lightning strikes. That's kind of rad, man. It'd be cool to go out and find some glass made by lightning. That's pretty cool. I love museums like this because they're set up with so much attention to detail. Like, a lot of these places don't have crazy fancy artifacts. They hardly have the Mona Lisa. Like, right here's a whole area dedicated to the Wilkerson chair, the first hydraulic dental chair, patented in 1877. I mean, probably not the first thing you think of when you think of exciting museum. But I love the way the places like this make do with what they have and then spend all this time and attention to detail when they have really low budgets or even no budgets, and they turn it into something interesting and educational. All right, it's time to talk about Andy Devine. Here he is. There he is right there. That's old Andy Devine himself. As you may or may not have guessed, Andy Devine was from Kingman, Arizona. He was an actor who was in about a zillion movies, especially old Western movies. He had a very distinct voice. If it's not ringing any bells, think of Friar Tuck from Disney's Robin Hood. That was the voice of Andy Devine. He had one of those sounds that makes us think of like old Western things. We're like, the Old West. I can't really do a good Friar Tuck impersonation, so you'll just have to remember what he sounds like on your own, but you get the gist of it. The dude was in a lot of movies. I mean, just go look at his IMDb page. And the rest of us might not remember films like Frontier Gal, but believe me, in Kingman, they remember. It seems like every 5 feet in this town, something is named after Andy Devine. Like I said, they even renamed Route 66 through town after him. I think it's Andy Devine Avenue. You got all kinds of Andy Devine businesses. There's an Andy Devine Apartments, plaques at the Beale Hotel and at his elementary school talking about good old Andy. It's a thing here in town. Even still, it's a big deal. Andy Devine. I wonder if his poor older brother, Tom Jr., was ever a little jealous. Poor Tom. He was a good boy. He just couldn't pull off a hat the way Andy could.
Well, thank you.
That was a terrible impersonation, and I do not apologize, but I'm sorry.
I think I'm starting to lose my voice from all this desert air.
Check out this cool little makeshift theater in here, showcasing, I believe, some of the work of Andy Devine. And above it is this cool hand-carved stagecoach and horses. Look at that. That is so freaking cool. There's still a lot of old guys out there making stuff like this. My dad's grandpa used to carve all kinds of crazy stuff out of wood. Like he made some carousel horses and he'd always be carving those wooden ducks. Like he always made stuff like this, you know, like wooden horses and wooden dudes, little wooden animals. And not for money, like just in his spare time, for fun. Like I love living in the modern age and everything, don't get me wrong, but I kind of think that that's so much cooler than just being able to play Xbox really good, you know? Like look at this thing right here. This lady, Anne Hounslow, built this crazy mercantile store and saloon diorama. That thing is rad. Look at all the detail that went into building this. Like I'm sure a lot of this stuff is dollhouse furniture and came from dollhouse type of stuff, but this here took a lot of time and attention to detail and creativity and, ooh, sorry ma'am. Ooh, there was a scantily clad lady in there and I was looking through the window. Oh no, I'm a peeping Tom. Let's go downstairs where folks are a little more decent. Look at all the stuff in the store set up there. And look back there in the saloon. There's a lot of people having fun back there. That is just such a cool work of art. And like, what do you do with that? You know, your grandma built this and it's like so cool. You grew up looking through the little plexiglass window or whatever and you really loved the old General Mercantile Saloon. But then once she's gone, like what do you do with this thing? Well, apparently you donate it to a museum. It's just sitting back here in this like weird corner, you know? I really love looking at stuff like this. It's so cool. I always thought it would be cool to build one of those really elaborate doll houses, you know? But then Allie made me watch this really sad movie about this girl who gets kidnapped and murdered by this guy who builds doll houses. And now I'm like, well, now I can't do that. It'd just be creepy. Plus, it's really expensive. Ugh, that guy scared me a little. Ooh, let's not forget that a lot of people came out here to the desert during World War II to be trained for things like African fighting and to operate a lot of Air Force bases out here. So there's a lot of artifacts from that era as well. Check out this piece of an old B-17. Well, look at these familiar faces right here. That is some cool nose art. Look, and there they were in World War II. Lucky partners. I like that the artist got his name on here. It's almost like he had a feeling that his work would end up in a museum someday. Well, here's something interesting over here. Louis Kingman? I never knew that this town was named after a guy. I guess he surveyed and built the first railroads that came through here. And according to the sign, there's a Kingman, Kansas named after him too. Weird. You think Kingman, Kansas and Kingman, Arizona ever have like baseball games versus each other or anything like that? Pie throwing contests? Oh, there we go. What Western museum would be complete without some guns? Ooh, a lot of Colt revolvers in there. Good thing they keep them under lock and key. Yeah, we got some telegraph stuff, some people's wedding dresses, that's good. Then we have this really creepy germophobic guy who does not want to be touched. It's just that I don't know where you've been. Fair point, buddy. Fair point. Then there's this display over here, which commemorates the Chinese Americans who helped to develop Kingman and Mojave County. Something about this lady in the glass box really weirds me out. I don't know what it is, but the longer I stare at it, the weirder it gets. Creepy. Ooh, this is rad though, look at this. Here we have a ship that was hand carved with a pocket knife by a guy sitting in jail. Dang dude, that is awesome. That is a piece of folk art right there. See, there's no telling what prisoners are capable of if we just gave them all pocket knives. Alright. I'm really starting to lose my voice now for some reason, so I guess we'll have to wrap things up with the final room right over here. You guys remember we were in this room before. Got all kinds of cute stuffed dead things in it, like this ringtail cat. Aw, these things are so cute, and supposedly they're out here in the California and Arizona desert. I have never ever seen one in the wild. So cute. Less cute is this giant freaking rattlesnake. Got a head the size of a tennis ball. Oh. And look at all the rattles. Someone can make a baby very happy with all of those. You might remember the last time I was here, we were investigating a murder. Somebody murdered this poor person.
It wasn't me. I was outside.
Oh no, we know it wasn't the javelina for sure. Last time I was here, I blamed it on this murdery looking bobcat. I mean, how could you blame me? He looked so suspicious and shifty-eyed, but it was sloppy detective work on my part. I really wasn't paying close enough attention. There were several witnesses out here, none of whom saw a thing. And it turns out the murdery bobcat has an airtight alibi. He was hanging out with Chester Coyote smoking hookah. It's really not good for you, Mr. Bobcat, but I'm sure he already knows. Well, I'm finally back to solve the crime, and I noticed one detail I didn't pick up on before. Dun, dun, dun. It's a baby tortoise shell. It's the calling card of the Desert Tortoise Gang. I'm telling you guys, the whole tortoise thing is a serious problem. Whatever you do, if you see a desert tortoise, do not pick it up, either with your hands or as a hitchhiker. Just back away slowly and leave it where you found it, or you could end up murdered too. I hate that lady. All right. We came, we saw, we Route 66'd, we learned, we laughed, we cried together. There was some pretty crazy excessive heat warning level hotness out here this trip. And now, funny enough, this lady inside told me that there are some crazy thunderstorms coming this way, which out in the desert means epic threat level midnight flash flooding, humidity added to the heat, and a whole lot of lightning. I'm honestly a little sorry that I'm gonna miss it because I love adventure, but I also love my family and air conditioning. And since I'm suffering from a little heat exhaustion still and totally losing my voice now for some weird reason, and since Kingman is only a day's drive from home and I can always come back pretty soon, I'm gonna go ahead and say I've done my duty. Now I can go home and sleep well. Thanks for partying with me, gang. Remember, the sweet hat, R stands for adventure, and t-shirts available at livefastdiepoor.spreadshirt.com. And if you derive great satisfaction from these videos and want to contribute to my ability to make more in the future, consider visiting patreon.com/JustinScarred. Y'all make sure to subscribe now, and I'll see you all a little further on down the old dusty trail. So long, everybody. Watch out for volcanic bombs. See you later. if you get hip to this time to tip. Take that California trip. Wow! On Route 66.
deep, wide